borders the northern foot of the Qin Mountains to the south and the banks of the Wei River to the north. It has been the capital for 13 dynastic periods of modern-day Shanxi, which is northwest of the People's Republic of China and lies in the center of the Guangdong Plain. Moreover, Shanxi was named one of the four great capitals of China, alongside Beijing, Luoyang, and Nanjing. Xi'an has not always been called Xi'an, though. During the Zhou dynasty, it was called Fenghao. It was named Chang'an during the Han dynasty. Then it was named Daxing during the Sui dynasty. It was later changed back to Chang'an in the Tang dynasty. The Yuan dynasty called Xi'an Fengyuan, and it was finally named Xi'an during the Ming dynasty. The city of Xi'an contains many tourist attractions such as the city wall, the Wild Goose Pagoda, and the History Museum.
That's the special instrument, music instrument, and it's very special, not common.
The Great City Wall of Xi'an, that stands 12 meters high, 12 meters wide, and 13.7 meters long, is the only city wall that has been completely preserved, which is the reason why it remains so popular amongst tourists. The wall is composed of earth, quicklime, and rice extract, and then it was later enclosed with bricks. It was started during the Tang Dynasty and later expanded in the 14th century, specifically 1370, by Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang. Zhu Yuanzhang captured Huizhou before the establishment of the Ming Dynasty, and he was reprimanded by a hermit who provided him with the advice: build high walls, store abundant supplies, and take your time in becoming emperor. The emperor listened and built many defense systems on the wall, such as watchtowers, to ensure that the area of central Qin had the strongest fortifications and was ultimately impregnable.
The giant Wild Goose Pagoda, also known as the Daeon Pagoda, is a Buddhist sacred building. Located in the middle of Xi'an, it is the city's most sacred monument. The giant Wild Goose Pagoda was built in 652 AD during the Tang Dynasty by a monk of the name Xuanzang. Xuanzang had traveled across India for 18 years previously before returning to Xi'an. He brought back with him a collection of Buddhist sacred texts, Buddha figures, 657 kinds of sutras, and several Buddha relics. He used these things to bring the Wild Goose Pagoda to life. Pagoda gets its name from the following legend. According to ancient stories of Buddhists, there were two branches, for one of which eating meat was not a taboo. One day, they couldn't find meat to buy. Upon seeing a group of big wild geese flying by, a monk said to himself, "Today we have no meat. I hope the merciful Bodhisattva will give us some." At that very moment, the leading wild goose broke its wings and fell to the ground. All the monks were startled and believed that Bodhisattva showed his spirit to order them to be more pious. They established a pagoda where the wild goose fell and stopped eating meat. There is also the small wild goose pagoda, located in a southern suburb of Xi'an. It was built in 707 AD, after the big wild goose pagoda, and is much daintier and smaller than its larger counterpart. The big wild goose pagoda was originally just called the Wild Goose Pagoda, but was given its new name when the small wild goose pagoda was built to distinguish one from the other. The small wild goose pagoda is one of the last ties to ancient Xi'an in the Tang Dynasty, and it plays ancient Xi'an music to remind people of this.
这做过的吗？
这样改。
The History Museum is another one of Xi'an's cultural highlights. It was built in 1983 to the northwest of the giant Wild Goose Pagoda. Its architecture is reminiscent of the architectural style of the Tang Dynasty. The museum opened to the public on June 20th, 1991. The History Museum is known as the Pearl of Ancient Dynasties and House of Chinese Treasures because of its immense inventory. The museum contains over 370,000 items. These items include, but are not limited to, murals, paintings, pottery, and coins. The museum has many other kinds of artifacts as well. Some of the highlights of the museum include fossils of the Lantian man, the deer pattern eaves tile, and the kneeling archer, which is a 120 centimeter tall figure unearthed in 1977 from Emperor Qin Shi Huang's tomb. Others are the four-footed Li, a bronze cooking utensil from the Shang Dynasty, a mural of polo players from the Tang Dynasty called Playing Polo, and the Empress's Seal. The Empress's Seal is a jade seal found near the tomb of Emperor Gaozu. One of the most well-known exhibits of the museum is the terracotta soldiers.